I'd tell you a little bit of, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about how God called me or how I answered the call. I don't know why I started wanting to serve God as a missionary even before I was saved, just because I heard about people that needed the gospel and there was nobody to take it to them. I thought, that's a terrible thing that people would ask for a preacher and there's not one that could go. I thought that was terrible. And then when I was 11, and I told you that story, and I surrendered. And then when I grew up, um, I began to doubt being a missionary. But when I married Betty, I told her we were going to be missionaries. And later on, when I'm about 29 or 30, I really began to be bothered by the need to be a missionary. I never thought I'd leave that church I'd first started. Betty and I started a church when I was 23, and I never thought I'd leave there. But every time a missionary came, it just ate my lunch. I wanted so desperately to be a missionary. Betty thought it was my desire for adventure. Uh, she said, you're just trying to, you got this sense of adventure. You just want to go do things. I'm not sure God didn't put that in us a little bit, maybe. I don't know. But that wasn't it. I remember visiting Haiti, and while I was in Haiti, I begged God to tell me to stay in Haiti. I begged God to tell me to be a missionary. I didn't feel anything or hear anything or know anything. I saw the people, but I was terrified. Well, I don't want to do what God doesn't want me to do. And over the next months and all, a couple of years, I guess, I hungered to be a missionary. And Betty and I discussed it all the time, and Betty wasn't at all happy with the idea of us being missionaries. And so she said, I didn't know what you meant when you said we was going to be missionaries when we first got started. We've started this church. Things are just now finally getting settled, and things are starting to go well. And I don't know why you'd want to leave now. And I said, I just really think it's what God wants. And so I spent every night, I couldn't, I'd go to sleep and I'd sleep for an hour, hour and a half and wake up and I couldn't go back to sleep. And then I'd stay up for 3 or 4 hours in the night, from midnight till 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and praying that whole time. God, show me what to do. Now, I didn't understand God. I didn't understand the things of God. So I thought God might do something to hurt Betty if she didn't go. That was dumb. But sometimes we teach really bad stuff in our churches, and we tell stories that make it feel like if you don't do what God wants you to do, He'll break your legs. And He's not a mafia boss, and that was totally uncalled for and totally untrue. I chewed the inside of my lip that I grew up like a little tongue. Flesh grew out of there. I couldn't eat without pushing it out of the way with my tongue. I had it cut off like 3 or 4 times by the dentist before it finally quit growing. And I would go to sleep and I would dream and I would see brown people. I'd never even been to Peru. I'd just see these little brown people. Like, God, what are you doing to me? What do you want? And so one night at about 4:30 or 5, Betty came out. She's been the most wonderful wife any man could ever dream of. And she came out and she sat down on the side of the bed and she said, on the side of the couch, she said, what's going on? And I said, honey, you need to sit down. I'm going to tell you. The Lord has really dealt with my heart. We're going to go to deputation for a year. We're going to go to Mexico for a year. We're going to arrive in Peru here. And I laid out a whole plan of what we would be doing and how our life was going to work. And she said, how do you know? I said, I'm sure as I am sitting here that God's shown me this. I know it's hard to believe, but I truly believed it. And I asked her to pray with me and say the Lord, she'd do it. And she did, but she wasn't happy. And it was a long time before we were in, I think probably 4 years, Betty cried almost every day. I'm not sure I did the best thing as a husband in leading her there, because I could have done better. I've failed so many times raising my children, being too harsh and too mean and maybe not kind enough to my wife. But I was so consumed with what I heard taught and preached. I'd heard a story about a missionary who didn't go to the mission field because they were afraid that they might lose their children, and there were snakes there. And then the story is told in the pulpit when I'm a young man about the missionary didn't go, and And one day a rattlesnake bites one of their children, and then they back over the other child in the yard, and both children end up dying. And I'm like, what in the world? And so I'm like, is that the God I serve? Is that what's going on here? Do you understand? It was all bad theology, bad understanding of God. It's all playing in my head. But I'll tell you, we surrendered. We went to the mission field. Betty loved it. I loved it. God was good. You can trust the Lord to take care of you. You can trust the Lord to meet your needs. And I want to challenge you to do just that today. Surrender. I promise you it'll be worth it. You'll have fun. You don't have to be afraid. I'd love to help you any way I could. All you got to do is contact me. Hey, if you like the video, subscribe, send us a like, tell other people about it. I appreciate you being with us on this channel, and I appreciate what God's going to do with you, because I know He's got big plans for you.